at one point, I can't remember exactly when it was on the show that I know we've talked about this at least multiple times. There was early in the administration a call for Joe Biden to unilaterally relieve student debt. Now, as you know, the White House believes correctly that it has the ability to place a moratorium on the repayment of student debt through the Department of Education. And they have done so. And I believe this moratorium exists at least till March at this point. And they may punt again. That same authority, it has been argued, it's May, sorry, would also allow the administration, and they have done this in specific cases, I mean, tens of thousands of cases of people, but in specific circumstances, that they could basically just relieve the people holding the debt of that debt burden. We know that this has been a huge drag on the economy. It has been a huge drag on people's ability to move into certain professions. I've done multiple interviews with different people who show that this is not in any way a regressive policy, that it would help not just doctors and lawyers, but in fact would help people across the economic spectrum and would be helpful to society at large. There was a request of the Biden administration. Their response was, we're going to have our lawyers take a look at it and generate a letter to tell us whether we have the authority to do this. This letter has taken an extraordinarily long period of time. I think we talked about this with Ilhan Omar the first time she came on.
First time, right.
Yeah, and
still caught in the printing press.
And it took a long time to generate this letter, apparently. And they wouldn't release it. Well, Jen Psaki is finally talking about this memo regarding President Biden's executive authority. Check this out.
A number of lawmakers sent a letter to the White House today, including Chuck Schumer and Elizabeth Warren, asking the White House to release the memo that the Education Department put together looking at the president's legal authority to cancel student loan debt. I wonder, do you have a response to that? And, why hasn't this memo been released?
Well, let me first say no one has paid or been required to pay a single dime of federal student loans since the president took office over a year ago. And I'll also add that our country is seeing one of the strongest economic recoveries in history. And the pause announced in December gives some breathing room for several more months to borrowers who are still coping with the pandemic. The Education Department will continue working to ensure a smooth transition to repayment. I would reiterate also that the president supports Congress, members of who sent the letter and others, sending him a bill that would provide $10,000 in debt relief. And
pause it for 1 second. I want to make something absolutely clear, that on the presidential trail, Joe Biden not only called for $10,000 debt relief for every single person who holds student loans, but he also promised that any family or anybody, I think it was under the making less than $135,000 annually, I think he did this in New Hampshire, would have their student loans wiped out. So it wasn't just $10,000 per person. It was also people under a certain income threshold would have no student debt.
Yeah, and when she says that that was sent to Congress, right? That's what is what she said right there.
Or they want Congress to send them a bill with $10,000.
Or that they want, sorry,
right.
The opposite. I mean, that she knows that even if a bill is sent or even if a bill is proposed, that it will never, ever, 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 ever pass the filibuster.
Well,
ever.
You know what they need is they need the Department of Education to write up a memo as to his legal authority. In fact, that was the original question. Continue.
Who sent the letter and others, sending him a bill that would provide $10,000 in debt relief. And he continues to look into what debt relief actions can be taken administratively. I'd also note that in terms of loans that have been forgiven since the president took office, beyond the pause on repayment, a total of $15 billion benefiting more than 675,000 student loan borrowers been part of the forgiveness. Borrower defense to repayment, $1.5 billion. Total and permanent disability repayments, loans forgiveness, I should say, $7.8 billion. ITT tech students, $1.3 billion. And public service loan forgiveness, $5 billion. So we have been doing a broad range of forgiveness and also have had this pause in place, meaning that no one who has student loans has been required to pay since the president took office.
But does the White House plan to release the memo? Like, does the White House plan to tell the public whether it thinks it has the authority to cancel $10,000?
Well, as I said, again,
debt
we're
on
still
its own?
looking at administrative options, but Congress can also send the president a bill that would provide $10,000 in debt relief, and he'd be happy to sign that bill.
They can't do that.
On Friday to Pittsburgh. Can you talk a
Okay, they know, she knows that a bill cannot be sent to her. It will never pass the filibuster. It will not get 50 Democrats on board, regardless, let alone the 10 Republicans that would be necessary to pass a 60 vote threshold. And they're just like stalling. They're just stalling on this. And
Of
I can't
course.
understand.
How long does it take you to prepare a memo?
Do we have that memo, the redacted version?
Oh yeah, they put out they have actually put the memo out, but they've redacted part of it because of national security.
Yeah.
Is that what it is? Honestly.
So this is the version that came out like last fall when like this debt collective got. And just scroll through these pages.
Oh, wait a second. Wait. We should be clear. This is not a typo.
Yeah.
This is not the classic. We haven't the technology to show you what a.
This is not a parody.
This is not
Error in
us.
loading the PDF. This is the memo.
Well, at least they use pink. I mean, the blackout of the text would be totally bad for our eyes.
No,
They should have used a rainbow flag,
No,
honestly.
you're not getting it.
Yeah.
This they put out the memo April 5th of last year. And didn't want to actually outline the authority, but did want to promote breast cancer awareness.
You're right.
So, there you go.
Did you notice how she said a smooth transition to repayment? What the does that mean? What the hell
It's
is
a priority.
a smooth transition to repayment? All that means is you're going to start paying again soon. Appreciate the loan shark who behind the podium there. Thank you.
That's who these people are.
Well, I mean, right, but they get more esteem. It's like gamblers versus Wall Street traders. They're fundamentally doing the exact same thing.
Wayne Kerr says forgiving student debt without other reforms seems like a silly move. It may lead to trapping another generation in the same predicament. I agree. We need other reforms. They're not mutually exclusive, and maybe forgiving the debt will push, help push those other reforms. We need a free college option in every state.
And it is not expensive. When it was initially talked about on the campaign trail, Bernie Sanders' proposal, I think, was one of the more expensive options. It's something like $60 billion a year, which was equivalent to at the time this was being talked about, the proposed increase in one element of the military budget, or the executive authority part of the military budget that Trump wanted. That's a marginal, small.
I don't think it's 60 billion. I don't think it's on an annual
year?
basis. No, I think it's less than that. I think it's.
I said I was using the top line number that one of the Bernie Sanders. There are a variety of proposals. I think 60 billion was one of the more expensive ones.
Nevertheless, we've done it in this country in the past, and we could easily do it again. One option per year. I mean, one option per state that you would not. And what it would do also is it would drive down the cost of other colleges, private colleges, just simply because they would have to compete on some level. Wouldn't drive it down dramatically, but it would drive it down somewhat, because the increase in the cost of college education came from the austerity that we saw on the state colleges, where the cost of these colleges were put on to the to students. And as the cost of these state colleges went up, freed up other private colleges to raise their tuition, and then we needed more student loans, and there you go.
Don't know how much longer I can stay in, or how much more I got to pay to play it. I know somehow